Hello there, welcome back to the channel and my annual horror episode. This time I'm just going to be talking about and ranking several of my favourite horror villains of all time. We've obviously got the big three, Jason, Freddy and Michael, but I'm also going to be throwing in Ghostface, Chucky and Pinhead, as I particularly have a soft spot for these franchises as well. And there are no rules to this other than my arbitrary stupid ones. We're going to discuss them, break them down, rank them, see who's the best, because obviously this guy is, because he, if you didn't know, was the mold for the mask of Michael Myers. Michael Myers is Captain Kirk, meaning Captain Kirk is truly the scourge of the galaxy. But he isn't on this list, Michael is. As I said, the rules are simple. I make them up as I go along. I decide what rank something's going to get, and it gets it. Initially, we're going to rank the numbers of kills. Now, I am doing these as rough estimates because, quite frankly, I googled it. I wasn't sitting through every film and counting them, but they're rough counts. This video's for fun. Sue me, it's my video. So we shall begin after you like, share and subscribe if you are so inclined to do so. Starting with Chucky. Charles Lee Ray, as he was known when he was still alive, racked up a pretty much an unknown body count, but in the guise of Chucky and known on-screen deaths, it is estimated, according to Google, through my extensive research, he has 75-ish, we'll say 75, kills to this date. This probably isn't included in the TV series, but fuck it, it isn't included in the TV series. Now, to be clear, in my arbitrary ruling system, for every, 10 kills, they get 1 point. So, he gets 8 points, because I'm going to round up if it's closer to whichever round number it's near to, because if these don't end on a round number, I'm just going to round it to whichever one's closest. 75, we'll round up to 80, so he gets 8 points. Jason Voorhees, the man, the mask, the legend, has an estimated 163 kills. That is if you don't include the 20,000 people that were supposedly aboard the space station that was destroyed as a result of his actions during Jason X. And we're not going to include those because I don't want to do that math. So 163-ish deaths, which gives him 16 points. He's the leader so far. Michael Myers, throughout his entire franchise of reboots, remakes, soft reboots, he has an estimated 92 kills to his name, giving him 9 points on my current list as we're going along. Talking up now, the Cenobites, as I can't really just do the Hell Priest himself because these people kind of come as a group. It's all or nothing, and there are different Cenobites. It kind of got a little complicated if we're going to do individual counts. And as I said, I ain't sitting through all those films. Have you seen their sequels? They're not the best. There are an estimated 246 deaths at the hands of the Cenobites throughout the entire franchise, giving them 25 points. So far, they are the most brutal and merciless of this entire list. Freddy Krueger, the sometimes mistaken and misunderstood murderer. He's not misunderstood in any way, shape or form, he's just a monster. Although I will say, in the reboot, I did not like how they made him basically a P-file, because that made, no, I hated that, I really hated that, that was terrible. He has an estimated 48 kills to his name, but one of them was Johnny Depp. I think that should count as 2. So, 49 kills to his name. Doesn't really make the numbers any difference. He gets 5 points for that. Freddy, you are letting yourself down. Luckily, though, he does beat our final entry, which would be the Ghostface killers. The murderers from the Scream franchise. Wes Craven's new nightmare. Wes Craven's parody on the genre, only have an estimated 33 kills to their names collectively to this date. Again, probably not including the TV series, which is actually pretty good if you ever want to go and check it out, although I will confess I've not as yet seen Season 3 because I live in Britain and getting Season 3 over here seems to be difficult. And I'm not a pirate, so that puts our scores looking a little bit like this, with the Cenobites in the lead. So let's try and even the score out a little bit, and let's move on to our next category. And so for the next category, we are going to be marking them for their creativity and for their imagination. Basically, just how brutal, how fucked up, and how messy do they get. How creative, imaginative, and how much do they actually shake it up a little bit rather than just rinse and repeat the same blade over and over again. So let's start with Jason Voorhees. Now, as you may or may not be aware, I have another channel called Nerd World Films, for the shameless plug that is coming right at you right now. And on that channel, I am currently actually reviewing, in my Nerd Talk series, the Friday the 13th franchise. I'm currently posted up to number 8, I believe, as of the upload of this video, but number 9, Jason Goes to Hell, is coming, followed soon by Jason X, and then probably Freddy vs. Jason for good measure. So those are coming. So I have been covering these movies fairly regularly. And obviously in this count, in the kills before the first film, if you may or may not know, spoilers for an old 40-year-old film, the killer is not Jason. So those kills don't matter, they don't count, so we're not including that film. So it's only the Jason Voorhees murders I'm going to include in this list. And surprisingly, he gets pretty creative. There's the good old head squish that he's known for, the head twist that he's also known for. His machete is the thing he's most known for killing people with, and it is probably his most ubiquitous and widely used murder tool of choice. But he's not against a good beating or knocking someone's block off. He's not against drowning someone. He's not against freezing their face and shattering it. He's basically pretty varied. Jason is not a fussy fella. He'll do whatever he has to do to take on his goal, and his goal is usually to murder everyone that's, you know, drinking, doing drugs, and having premarital sex anywhere near his little slice of heaven next to the lake. So actually, ranking him out of 10, which is what we're going to be doing here, he's actually, for creativity, he's going to be getting a 9. He's getting a pretty high score. He doesn't get a 10 just on the principle of he does default back to his machete quite often, or simply doing it bare hand. And, you know, he's a bit stabby, smashy, so, you know, 9. But, because he does get creative. The next, we'll look at Charles Lee Ray. Charles Lee Ray, not so consistent, but he's also not overly creative. He does favor his nice little knife, but he's not been against the odd shooting or other more creative death using a drill or something, or in the more recent movies actually with multiple Chuckies killing a single individual with drills, knives, all kinds of things. So he gets there. He's prolific, shall we say. He's blown people up, he's shot them, he has stabbed them. He's pretty all over the place. He is all over the map, and you've got to give him some extra leeway because he is basically a doll. He's like 3 feet tall at best, although he does have his proportional strength of a man. He's still quite small, so I'll give him an extra couple of points for basically the handicap that he's got as a serial killer. Poor little baby. And we're going to give him 7 points. Moving on, we've got Michael Myers, the boogeyman himself, the man who terrified Haddonfield and made everyone afraid to go out trick-or-treating at Halloween ever again. But despite the fear that this guy poses and his, you know, iconic head tilt as he watches people impaled to a wall, he pretty much doesn't vary it up. From the day he killed his sister with a knife, to going after his other sister with a knife, to going after his nephew with a knife. Basically, he likes his knives. He'll vary it a little bit, but generally a small, blunted, sharp, whatever implement he can get to hand, he'll use. He will use his hands on occasion, but he's very, very basic, and he's very A to B. He's terrifying, but, you know, he ain't going to be picking up a sniper rifle, he ain't going to be picking up an Uzi and mowing down an entire room full of people. He doesn't exactly get creative, he never really tortures his victims, he's all about the kill, and he's not about prolonging it or inflicting pain or getting creative in any way. It's just the most efficient way, the fastest way to kill his target. I'm not saying he never varies it up, but he very rarely does, and as a result he's only getting 3 points for his lack of imagination. Next, we've got the Cenobites. Known for their ruthlessness and their brutality, they bring pleasure and pain at once. Although I do always question that. It's like, really, who? They bring pleasure. They bring new types of pleasure. When? When did they ever bring pleasure? I mean, maybe they're having sex with their victims, but really, have you seen them? No, just no. I get some people might get off on pain, but really, no. I don't get it. I never understood that, but surprisingly, again, they don't get that creative. You get some individual Cenobites that use like CDs to kill people, and that is the other, but mostly it's chains miracling themselves out of nothing into existence, hooking people up and tearing them apart, as Pinhead would like to put it. I'll tear your soul apart. I'm sure they have many great and inventive ways of inflicting pain and death upon their unsuspecting but somehow willing victims that they drag into hell with them. However, we don't really get to see much of it. The only real creative, brutal murders we ever seem to get are the actual creation of the Cenobites themselves. The others, although extremely graphic and brutal to the point where I can't even show most of it on this, it's not usually in the actual execution, it's normally in the aftermath. You see the bloody remains of a body that's had all its flesh torn off it, but you know, he's still moving. Don't get me wrong, brutal, but it's basically the same thing over and over again. It's not usually something different. As a result, they also don't score that high. I'm lying, they get a 7. They still get a decent mark because they're so brutal. They basically get a kick up for the sheer terrifying and beautiful brutality of their deaths. Next is Freddy. Freddy. Limited only by his own imagination or the imagination of his victim, anything goes with Freddy Krueger. While he was alive, he found inventive ways to take out his victims, customizing a bladed glove that he would psychologically and physically torture his victims like a cat playing with a mouse, before eventually executing them in a probably brutal fashion and disposing of the bodies in an equally brutal and harsh way. When he was dead and he became the dream demon we all know and hate, he became something far more terrifying. You could never escape him because you've got to sleep. You've either got to die or you've got to face him in your dreams, and in your dreams anything goes. Death by syringes, death by fire, death by blade, death by pretty much whatever your worst fear is, it can manifest and he'll have you. And as a result, Freddy is getting 10 points because he goddamn well earned it. And last but not least, we've got the Ghostface killers. Various different individuals. You'd think they'd come up with something original. They only on rare occasions use something other than their standard military issue blade that they like to use. Similar to Michael, they only really like using a knife, and considering there have been multiple different killers to don the mask, none of them have ever really varied it, only on occasion using a gun. And there have been a few deaths by gun in the franchise, but not enough. And as a result, they're getting a piss poor 1 point, because quite frankly I can give them that because this is very arbitrary, and it annoys me when I'm thinking about this now that they're such awesome movies and they never really shake that up at all. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is making our scores now, with the revised numbers, look a little bit like this. I'm thinking the Cenobites are still in the lead, but there are more categories yet. Happy Halloween. So on to the next category, and that is gonna be Fear Factor. How bloody scary are these guys? I mean, if you're gonna face off against any of them, who's it gonna be? You let me know your pick in the comments below, but for me, we're going to break it down. Each of these killers is terrifying in their own right. I mean, they're all killers, so realistically, unless you are the final girl, or fingers crossed in my case, final boy, you're gonna die. So, yeah. So, in no particular order, and with my no rules on how I'm giving out these points, just whatever I feel like, let's do Fear Factor. And let's start with Ghostface, because I think they need a catch-up. To be honest, they're pretty damn scary. I mean, I know, right, a lot of the others, they're supernatural, or they're just inhumanly intelligent, or dangerous, or whatever. I don't know about Michael Myers falling into that category, but whatever. These guys use smarts. They're sadistic, they're brutal, but it's like almost like a passing of the torch style of killer. It's like you think you've killed them, but like little serial killer cockroaches, they just keep coming back, no matter what you do. And you start with Billy Loomis, and Roman Bridger, if you want to maybe count him as the first, doesn't matter. And you just keep going and going and going, like they're fucking reincarnating or something. So, even though, yeah, they ain't the most creative, they deliberately use a costume which they know has a psychological effect to scare people. They use tactics like having the phone calls to unnerve you. They deliberately toy with you. They're going out of their way to create circumstances as well as environments and other such things that are going to intentionally unnerve, unsettle, and scare you before they come in for the kill. Unlike Jason or Michael, their objective isn't just aimlessly and mindlessly to kill. It has a purpose, a goal in mind, whether it's fame, whether it's revenge, whether it's just envy. They've got something in mind, and those human elements make them kind of bloody scary, because they're the most human out of all of these killers. And for that reason, I'm actually going to give them an 8, because they're pretty scary. Next we have Jason with his magical teleportation powers. Seriously, see my videos on Nerd Will Films. He has teleportation powers. Hopefully I'll remember to link at least one of those in here somewhere. Jason Voorhees, the hockey mask wearing, machete wielding, unstoppable zombie with teleportation powers, is damn near a literal monster. Depending on which lore you want to believe, because it technically is lore, he's actually a deadite. He's a zombie. And he's just unkillable, no matter what you do to this guy. Shoot him, stab him, impale him, drown him, electrocute him, use psychic powers to fling him around. Nothing stops him. He has an innate general fear of water, but quite frankly, that's not really an advantage to you unless you've got scuba gear. You ain't going to be able to outlast this guy underwater anyway, which makes no sense because he likes a lake. But off topic, he's near indestructible. He's fearless. He is single-minded, albeit childishly minded, which in and of itself is kind of terrifying. He will not stop, absolutely will not stop. He will keep coming for you until he's got you, even ignoring other people once he's zoned in on you as his target. He just keeps coming. And as a result, I'm giving this unstoppable killing machine zombie a 9. From him, we move on to Michael Myers. The two are often compared because they share a lot of things in common. They're both single-minded, they're both determined, they both seem to be unkillable, although Michael and Jason did start out their adventures into the world of serial killing both as basically mortal men. Both have taken on a more supernatural flavor over the years. Now I'm including this with Michael, even though depending again which continuity you want to go with, he's not immortal, he's just a man in the revised soft reboot continuity of the current films. But in the older films, he was a supernatural entity basically created by Sam Hain to wreak revenge or some stupid plot twist that made no sense. But he basically wants to wipe out his entire family. He's the manifestation of evil. He literally is the boogeyman. He is there for you to fear by definition. Although, again, his kills aren't creative, he does like to sort of pose his victims to intimidate the next ones, or possibly for his own entertainment. He does play with you. He'll deliberately hide and wait for you. He'll wear a costume, not just to hide his face, but also just to basically screw with you. He is dangerous, but he's mostly just a man. Similar to the Ghostface killers, he is basically just human. He's just very, very, very evil. But quite frankly, because if you're not related to him, he doesn't seem to be that interested in you. Unlike Jason, he doesn't have quite as many triggers that set him off. He's just evil, for the sake of evil. Which is terrifying, but he does seem to be rather selective with his victims, and I feel that as a guy doesn't seem to believe in running or even like power walking, you could pretty much just stay ahead of this guy forever. So he's only getting a 6. I'm sorry for the Michael fans out there, but this is my rules. I don't have any rules. He's getting a 6. Next we got Chucky, Charles Lee Ray. Now, many people have an innate fear of dolls. There's sort of an uncanny valley thing going on with Chucky in his various iterations. The idea that he's not only a doll, but he's actually got kind of squishy parts, that he's slowly turning human as he remains a doll, is kind of unsettling to see and think about. He's meant to be a symbol of innocence, but in reality he's a murderous psychopath that likes to torture and kill just for the sake of it. And once he's in that body, he didn't even have to put a face on anymore. At least when he was human, he had to pretend. He still needed people. He had to put a face on to at least appear somewhat believable as a human being and part of society. But once he was Chucky, he didn't need to eat, he didn't need to steal money anymore, he didn't need to do anything other than indulge his base desire to kill, torture and hurt people, which makes him probably one of the scariest horror movie villains I can think of, and he's getting an 8 as a result of this, just for being a symbol of pure, unadulterated, laughing evil. And now Freddy. I don't even think this one needs to be said. I mean, he is a literal nightmare. And if anything's going to scare you, it's your own goddamn nightmares. He preys on your weaknesses, he has theme songs, he laughs and jokes while he kills you, he delights in your pain and it feeds him. You can never escape him. Unlike Michael, who you can outwalk, Jason, who maybe you could outthink, maybe, or at least you could contain. The Ghostface killers seem to just keep reappearing, but they're basically just human. Freddy was human. He had his shot, he had his chance. He failed at being a human and a father, and he went on to be a demon. He is literally the incarnation of fear itself, and as much as he delves, similar to Chucky, more into the comedic as he goes along. It's the jovial, whimsical nature in which basically he's laughing at you dying, which is a horrible thought. Dying anyway, but dying while the killer laughs and jokes over you as you pass away is a cringy, unsettling and unpleasant feeling. And he's getting a full 10 out of 10. That's 2 in a row for him. He's doing very well. The Cenobites. The Cenobites, what the hell? Again, literal demons. Similar to Freddy, they started out human. There is actually been talk for many years, similar there was a Freddy vs. Jason, there has been, and I think there has been comic books of basically bringing the Cenobites into the same universe as Freddy, because effectively you could if you wanted to. The similar, a lot of the way these franchises overlap, which I'll get to at the end of this video, but yeah, there's been talk of it. They're kind of similar to Freddy. They are basically demons that started out as human, but got made manifest into something far worse, and they are, again, pretty damn terrifying. It depends on the individual Cenobite, because again, different ones have different personalities and different things they want to do to you, and makes them independently more or less scary than each other. I personally don't find the army of Cenobites that Pinhead created in the later films to be particularly intimidating, but the earlier Cenobites, they were, and they were very terrifying. They're going to get a 9 in this scoring system. The reason they don't get a 10 like Freddy is because they make the promise of also bringing pleasure, and pleasure is not scary. For those people that kind of get off on pain, either inflicting or receiving, Cenobites are demons to some and angels to others, and as a result of that one statement, they're losing a point. They're getting a 9. And that takes us neatly into what are going to be the final scores for these killers. Okay, so I think based on these scores, I think we can see that there is a clear winner, and I think we all saw it coming, and it's the Cenobites. They win out in most categories. Yeah, they lose out somewhat individually, but in the sheer numbers of carnage and death that they have wrought, unless you again include that 20,000 people that supposedly died on the space station in Jason X, which we are not counting. The Cenobites kill the most people. They have pretty much high fear factor. They are pretty damn dangerous in any way, shape or form. And yeah, I think the scores, they're reflecting that. The Cenobites, they're up there. And now on to what is the bonus part of this video, which is where I'm just going to have a little bit of a ramble, so feel free to tune out or stay in, whatever. Going back to my earlier point about an interconnected universe, we all know that Freddy and Jason now exist within the same universe, but like Aliens and Predator. There's a lot of these crossovers, but there are actually Easter eggs sprinkled in many of these different franchises, which link them all together. For example, Blade Runner, Alien, Terminator theoretically could all exist within the same universe. Terminator has also had crossovers with RoboCop and again with Alien, which is how we all get all that together. And yeah, there's like basically the androids in Blade Runner and the androids in Alien are linked, they're similar. Basically, you got an interconnected universe there, but sticking with the horror universe here for a second, obviously Freddy, Jason, same universe. In Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, something that's coming up as a bit of trivia in my next video actually, which isn't up yet on Nerd World Films, so spoilers for that episode. The Necronomicon appears as a little sprinkled Easter egg in there, and it was intended, as the director has stated, to imply very strongly and confirm what Jason is. Finally, he is a Deadite. Basically, he's been resurrected by the Necronomicon. His mother did it, or someone did it anyway, some idiot. And that's why he just keeps coming back. He's not Jason anymore, which also puts the ending of Jason Takes Manhattan somewhat into perspective, where you see, if you look at the alternative ending where he's escaping out of the mouth, or where he drowns in the toxic waste, and the flesh of Jason melts away and just reveals the little boy. That little boy was the one that was possessed by the demon in the first place, theoretically, and every incarnation of Jason since has just been a Deadite walking around in a Jason suit. So these franchises are often interconnected, and again, Hellraiser is meant to exist within the Freddy universe as well, because the Cenobites, although are not the same kind of demon, obviously they're all low-level demons, whether you want to admit it or not. Jason is a Deadite, so he's a zombie. Freddy is a dream demon, but he was made and given those powers by true demons. The Cenobites are given their power from basically hell itself, but it is power that is given and bestowed upon them. Again, they're not pure demon. They start out as human and sort of get a demonic veneer as things go along. Meaning, basically, yeah, these universes can be connected together quite easily. And what do you think? Would you like to see an interconnected universe of all of these movies put together? Obviously, Ghostface, technically I suppose, could exist in that universe, and the powers of Chucky to possess dolls could also easily be overlapped and explained away within these universes, because basically magic is really within these universes. Unholy, monstrous magic. Now, obviously, I've not covered a lot of other really popular killers. Now, this video is dragged on too long, so I didn't want to include every one. But there were a lot of horror franchises I really love and I really wanted to include within this list. But not all of them have human or human-like killers, like Tremors, which is a franchise I absolutely adore, but I don't want to use it. Critters, again, they're basically aliens. Pardon me, I hiccuped there. And various others. Now let me know, is there any franchises you think would have beat out the Cenobites to lead this? Would you like to have seen them included in this list? If you can tolerate a video of this length again, I would be willing to do another one, but it's only if this one gets enough traction, and usually my videos at this length don't. So let me know, comments below, if you'd like to see like a follow-up to this where I maybe compare some of the other types of killers, like I say, gremlins, xenomorphs, and critters, things like that, the non-human form. Let me know. With that said, I'm going to end this because I've just realized I've gone over the 30-minute mark, so that's going to bring us to the end of this discussion. Happy Halloween 2022. I just want to take this moment to thank you for watching that video. If you liked what you saw, please check out my social links in the description box below to Instagram and Twitter and others, and also is down there a link to my Patreon page where you can support this channel and the others as I try to grow this franchise and do this more regularly. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and bye bye.